This is how to chrono your blaster for free. Now, what does it mean to chrono, or what is a chronograph? I have a chronograph here, and it's to measure the velocity of a projectile. For this instance, we're using it for gel ball. You point the barrel down here and fire through it, and it will spit out a value in feet per second, just here. There's some numbers at the top as well, which are actually more designed for airsoft because you can put the weight of the ammo in, and airsoft has different weighted balls, while in gel ball it's not really like that, so we'll just focus on the number that it spits out here. Now, there are a couple of reasons why you would want to chrono your blaster. Number one is that you want to see if the modifications you've made to your blaster actually have made a difference, and to see if it's shooting better or worse. Number two is just maybe to see if your stock blaster is shooting at the right velocity, because if there's an air seal problem or something like that, you'll know by doing a chrono test. And lastly, some fields have FPS limits, so it is a good idea roughly to know what your blaster is shooting anyway. And if you have made a lot of modifications, you might not be allowed to take that blaster to a particular field. Most fields around Adelaide are around the 350 FPS mark. Now, to do this at home without a chronograph, you just need a couple of things. Number one is a measuring tape. Second is a mobile phone with slow motion capability. Most modern phones have this. So it needs to be shooting at least 120 frames per second for a decent result. Anything less won't be accurate enough. I know some phones can actually shoot up to 240 frames per second, so that would be even better. Number three is a computer with software where you can watch the footage back frame by frame. VLC Media Player is a free piece of software that you can download, so I'll be using that. And lastly, there's just some maths to work out the final result. Now, the process for you doing this is to preferably find a dark wall, as it's going to be easier to see the gel ball on the footage flying through the air. Next is you want to go out and measure out 3 meters with your tape measurer, mark where your barrel will be shooting, and then also put some sort of a backboard at the end. Next is placing a camera on the side so that you can see where the gel ball is going to exit the barrel and the backboard, so you can track it over these frames. Next, grab your blaster, put some ammo in it, and just pre-fire a bit, just so you get the barrel lubed up, so you're gonna get the most accurate result. Record shooting a few times so that you get rid of any discrepancies or if gel balls explode at the end. Once you've done that, grab yourself a coffee, head to the computer, and we're gonna offload the footage and start going through it frame by frame and get into the maths. So we've just jumped back on the computer and I've offloaded the footage. I also shot it on this camera at 200 frames a second, just so I can show you a bit easier of what we're looking for with a higher quality camera, and then I will move to the mobile phone footage. So I'm just scrubbing through the footage, and as you can see here, there is one exiting the barrel there. So that's what we're looking for, is this just a long streak, as they're going pretty fast. So they're gonna be a bit blurry and hard to see, but there's one. And as you can see, there it is again there, until it hits the board there. So that's what we're looking for. So I've got my phone footage here and I've opened it up in VLC Media Player, as you can go frame by frame. So I'm just going to scrub through to where roughly I start shooting. Then you want to use the keyboard shortcut E to scrub through the footage frame by frame. And we're just going to look again for that white ball, and we're going to count how many frames it takes to go from the end of the barrel to the backboard. So I've just found the first one, which is there. See, it's just that little white smear, so that's the gel ball. So we're going to count that as the first frame. So we go along, so that'd be 2 frames, 3 frames, and 4, and at the 4th frame, it's hitting the backboard. So we've got our number of 4. I'm gonna open up my calculator and notepad. First number we enter in is the amount of frames it took for the gel ball to go from the barrel to the backboard, which in my case was 4. We'll divide that by your frame rate, which was 120 for me. And we'll get a number from that. So 4 divided by 120, 0.033. Now you need to divide that number by how many meters the gel ball traveled, which we measured it out to be 3 meters. So divided by 3 equals 0.011. Now that number is seconds per meter. We need to convert that number to meters per second. To do that, you go 1 divided by the number, so 0.011, which equals 90.9 for me, and that is meters per second. Now the final calculation is converting that to feet per second, as that's the unit that everyone uses in gel ball. So we'll go 90.9 and you times that by 3.28, which is how you convert meters to feet. 3.28 And as you can see, that equals 298 feet per second, which is very, very close to what I was getting with my chronograph, which was around the 300 to 320 mark. So as you can see, if you've got a slow motion camera and you do it this way, you can get a pretty accurate reading. Again, if you have a camera with even higher frame rate, you'll get even more accurate reading. If you extend the distance that you're doing this over, so for example, you go from 3 meters to 5 meters, and then you just change the number in the calculation, they'll be even more accurate again. The longer you go, the gel ball will actually be slowing down, so there is a limit to how far you want to be doing that. But I've found that 3 meters for me was pretty good, and it's still close enough that you can see the gel ball in the footage, because the further you go back, it's going to be harder and harder to see that little gel ball. Now, a tip for doing this is to ideally do it when it's really bright outside, as the camera's shutter speed will crank up. You'll get a sharper image of the gel ball. Otherwise, if it's overcast, it might be really smeared and it will be a lot harder to see. So this is a great way for you to get a good estimate of what your blaster's shooting for free and not having to go out and buy a chronograph. If you're going to be doing lots of chrono tests with your blaster and you want to just be able to easily do it, maybe it is worth you buying one. But otherwise, if you just want to do this once or twice, it doesn't take that long to set it up. And once you do it a couple of times, you get faster and faster at doing it. So a free way for you to be able to see what FPS your blaster's doing. Hope this was enough information for you to go out and do this. Any questions, ask in the comments below and I'll get around to answering them. But otherwise, thanks for watching.